Alrighty, we are back one more time. This is a repeat format of something I did a long time ago for a book series called Young Samurai, which had right here a comment 5 days ago from someone who really liked that, and it made me think back to how I said I would do some book reviews. I probably have more experience with book reviews than anything gaming that I've ever put out. Um, I made me realize I haven't put out a video about a book in a long time, and I really want to get back into it. Hopefully in honor of that person who left a comment. But before I gave a review of a book that I hadn't read for a very long time, it was a book that I liked a lot, but as a kid, and I wanted to go next to a series that I'm a little more familiar with in terms of reading it. I've read this series twice. I've reread the ending a couple times just when I think about it because I think it's so good. But Mother of Learning, this is a book that I'm not the first person to sing the praises of, is a very strong series. I'll be the first to tell you if you go anywhere on this site, Royal Road, if you go to Best Rated, this is the number one book on the site, and it's been the number one book on the site as long as I've been coming to Royal Road. It is a very popular series. The reason for that, if I could put it into words, is an evolution of the character that very few books are able to manage. If I had to draw comparisons, I would say a slightly maybe less likable protagonist initially compared to something like the Cradle series by Will White. Um, you look at even He Who Fights with Monsters, where there's more of a snarkiness. I feel like Mother of Learning is more of a character that is. You could even think of it as kind of like edgy, emo even. He's not edgy in the sense that he's trying to be edgy, but more like a moody, brooding teen that you slowly get to see grow into somebody much fuller of a character, but a much more responsible character who's able to fully grapple with everything happening around him. Um, Overall, I've told you that it's a great book. The things that come together to make this an incredible book, though, are much more than the words on the page, I would say. And since that the author, Nobody 103, this is not even his primary language. He speaks, this is where I'm going to forget, I believe it is, I can't find it. It's somewhere Eastern European, but essentially this is not his first language. He wrote this essentially as an attempt, I believe, to learn English, which in and of itself is incredible. I think there's a very early on story where he describes how he rewrote the beginning chapters of this book upwards of 3 times completely until he felt like it was proper. All around incredible human being in the form of the author. Another factor, at least for me, in going into this rating, is the fact that this is very, very involved with time travel. I would say at least time looping. This is not a spoiler. All of this is kind of the only information I'm going to give you is within the first kind of intro. But time, at least for me as a reader, is something that I feel like is very frequently where media goes to die. You look at something like Avengers, incorporating time was kind of the only thing they had left, and it did accomplish, I think, the story that they were trying to kind of weave, but it ultimately kind of feels like always a bit of a grab, like you're reaching for something far off that's almost like you couldn't think of a good enough story using the rules of the universe, and you said, well, let's go to a rule we can manipulate, and hopefully the reader will buy it, and we'll get out of the story that way, or we'll resolve the plot point that way. In my mind, time has always kind of filled that, like, oh no, we ran out of a way to think like of a solution. Let's go to time travel. This story is the best time loop story I've ever read, and I've only been able to stomach a couple of them. By far, the best, and it's not even close. It's so good. Um, Mother of Learning, I can't spoil too much. At least going through it, I can tell you the story of Zorian. He's going through this time loop experience, and you get to follow him through that. Each loop, he's learning new things, and each loop, in a way that doesn't feel insulting or contrived. New elements appear, new trends, where it isn't just him abusing the fact that he's in a time loop. He's very much learning, growing, exploring, um, in a way that I feel like few other stories have really pulled off. As far as the protagonist goes, I think you see a great evolution in his character. If you can stomach early Zorian, it's really a pleasure to get to see him grow and become um, ultimately who he is by the end of the book. I cannot express the same way Mother of Learning, I think, it kind of embodies the pinnacle of, I would say, even time loop, adventure, fantasy, all of these. In terms of availability, This is one of the few books, one of the best reading experiences you get in your life completely for free. You go to Royal Road, you can click through all these chapters, you can read the entire book, and if you really like it, you can go here and essentially try to give them a review that way. All in all, this is an incredible series. It's one of my favorite kind of book series I've read. I would put it in the top 10 of all the books I've ever read, honestly, easily. It is such a good series, and it's such a good book. Cannot recommend it enough. Anyone out there who I could go on about this book for hours. I want to keep this relatively spoiler free. If you've liked anything in fantasy, I guarantee you will be able to like this. I highly encourage you to support the actual author through Amazon. Like, even though you can just kind of look at this and get it here. There's another story that they're working called Sins of the Sorcery. I forgot to mention that. I've not read much of this, but I imagine it has the similar kind of charm and all of the energy that the author put into the original. All in all, though, the things that I look for in this story are the magic system. The magic writing is incredible. That's kind of, in my mind, where you go to evaluate how an author thinks as a human being. Like, how complex is their mind, in the sense that they can create a system that you, as the reader, every single person reading this, can see it and say, that's a believable magic system. That's a believable way of having this world work, and I can't poke a good hole in it. I couldn't poke a good hole in this story. I felt like everything that was attempted was achieved, and even though there's all kinds of critiques. There's always critiques. You can go into any comment section and look for a 1-star review, and you could probably see the most common, basic level of criticism. But I don't think there's anything you could throw at this book that would actually stick, relating to maybe Zorian's a bit whiny. Yeah, that's fair. Maybe in the beginning, at least. Maybe you don't like some of the interactions. Maybe you don't like some of the characters. Maybe you don't know why they focused on certain things, or certain things were kind of boring. But I think overall there are so many little nuggets of fun in this story that are outside of the main characters. So many looping overall themes that come back and are resolved. If this story was a quilt, it would be immaculately constructed. Every patch, everything kind of, by the end of it, coming together in a way that I think is very rewarding. The only criticism I could really give it is that I wish the author would have kept going with the ending. I think it kind of stops, honestly, at a place that makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, this author could have kept going and just kind of dragged this out for a whole nother series practically. All of that to say, I highly encourage you to read this book. I cannot think, if you were anywhere interested in any of these themes, read any books similar to this, this is a book for you. This is probably me preaching to the choir. A lot of people looking at this video are probably already familiar with the series, but it is so effective at what it does. It's been on top for so long. I imagine it's still going to probably be pretty close to best rated if we come here in the future and I come back and look at this video again, but I cannot recommend it enough. All right, I'm back again. I realized I forgot to give this a grade, and I should probably give things a grade. I also can't remember what the grading system I used last was, so we're going to start this out of 10. I would give Mother of Learning a 10 out of 10. This is an extremely strong series, extremely compelling ending. Overall, the characters are well written, well rounded, and it's a world that, in my mind, you want to keep coming back to, and that's everything that a book series could even want to achieve, is being able to kind of draw people back into it. And I think this series does a great job of that. Cannot recommend it enough. 10 out of 10 for Mother of Learning. Thank you for watching.